Welcome to this edition of Culture Mosaic, a weekly journal that brings you the latest updates on the cultural and entertainment scenes here in Vietnam. In this episode, we'll delve deep into the heart of the former imperial capital of Vietnam, Huế, to uncover the secrets of Pháp Lam, a lost art revived. What is Pháp Lam, and how are artisans breathing new life into this treasured legacy? We'll find out more in our culture and lifestyle segment. But our exploration doesn't end there. In our On the Mic segment, we'll meet Ngô Hồng Quang, a visionary artist who seamlessly blends traditional melodies with contemporary compositions. He will take us on a musical journey that transcends time and cultural boundaries. And finally, in our Connecting Culture segment, we'll embark on an immersive voyage through Vietnam's diverse landscapes and vibrant communities with Carrie Newsom's enlightening podcast, What About Vietnam? Join us as we unravel the stories and celebrate the beauty and diversity of Vietnamese culture in today's Culture Show. Pháp Lam, an art revived. Vietnamese artists gets creative in promoting ethnic groups' traditional music and exploring Vietnam's charms, a journey with Carrie Newsom's podcast. Now let's begin with some local news. Vietnam achieved a significant cultural milestone on May the 8th as its 9 dynastic urns was recognized as part of the world's documentary heritage by the Memory of the World Committee for Asia and the Pacific of UNESCO. The inscription, approved unanimously with all 23 votes in favor, recognizes the regionally significant historical and artistic values of the heritage. The bronze urns were cast in 1835 under the reign of Emperor Minh Mạc, representing the intricacies of Vietnamese calligraphy and bronze casting artistry. The inscription of the 9 dynastic urns on the Memory of the World program highlights their importance in understanding cultural exchange and interaction between Vietnam and East Asia countries. The solemn parade and procession commemorating the historic 70th anniversary of the Điện Biên Phủ victory took place on May the 7th, 2024 in Điện Biên Phủ City, Điện Biên Province. The program began with 21 salvos of cannons as the national anthem played in the background, followed by a military parade and a procession of civil forces. The event honored the forces' roles in the Điện Biên Phủ victory and the country's development. Earlier, a documentary exhibition titled Điện Biên Phủ Victory, Vietnam's Strength and the Stature of the Era opened on May the 5th at the National Library of Vietnam. Visitors can learn about glorious battles associated with historical locations, which showcased the skillful strategies and tactics of the party, President Ho Chí Minh, General Võ Nguyên Giáp, and the Điện Biên Phủ Campaign Command. Most importantly, the exhibition aims to communicate the great solidarity of the Vietnamese people in achieving Vietnam's greatest victories in the 20th century. The 2024 Hanoi Tourism Festival took place from April the 25th to the 28th at Thống Nhất Park with the theme Thăng Long Hanoi, a charming capital. The event venue was modeled after flagship historical and cultural destinations, hosting 150 booths from various localities and travel agencies nationwide. The festival drew in tourists and locals for a delightful display of regional culture. At the same event, a variety of artistic performances unfolded. They include flash mob dancing, water puppetry, dragon dances, live performances of traditional musical instruments, showcases of áo dài attire, and hands-on sessions for painting and coloring folk artworks. Starting May the 4th, Cúc Phương National Park has launched an innovative night tour experience. The tour offers an electric ride through the park to witness the mesmerizing spectacle of fireflies and wild animals. After dark, Scheduled nightly from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., each tour introduces wild animals, including pangolins, striped civets, squid civets, wildcats, otters, and lorises in their nocturnal habits. This initiative aims to foster a deeper appreciation for wildlife and promote environmental conservation within the community. According to the Vietnam National Administration of Tourism, Vietnam welcomed over 6 million international visitors in the first 4 months of this year. This is an increase of nearly 70% over the same period last year, surpassing pre-pandemic levels. South Korean tourists continue to represent the largest group of international visitors, with 1.6 million arrivals. In addition, visitors from Southeast Asian countries such as the Philippines and Indonesia have nearly doubled. Visitors from European countries were also on the rise thanks to the open visa policy applied on August 15th last year. For 143 years, the Nguyen dynasty bestowed its capital, Huế, a vast repository of cultural riches. Among these treasures lies Pháp Lam, the enameled bronzeware discovered at various monuments throughout the city, each a veritable masterpiece. Yet, the secret of their crafting, shrouded in the mist of time, eludes discovery, leaving behind no trace of the workshops where these wonders were forged. Thankfully, however, this lost artistry finds resurgence and refinement within the heart of the former capital as artisans labor diligently to resurrect Pháp Lam, the exquisite enameled bronze artifacts. So let's discover in our Culture and Lifestyle Corner this week.
Hue enameled bronzeware came into being in the early years of the 19th century at a time when scientific theories of color known in the West had yet to reach Vietnam, yet its craftsmen still created remarkable colors. Although workshops existed during the Nguyen dynasty for just 60 years, the legacy of Nguyen enameled bronzeware in hue is abundant both in quantity, type, and shape, and have been admired by generations since. The enameled bronzeware are high-quality, fine art products.
Pháp Lam trong thời Nguyễn thì được sử dụng như là một cái vật liệu dùng để trang trí trong một số ngoại thất công trình, như một số cung điện quan trọng, một số cái cổng, cái cửa mà ở trên trang trí bằng Pháp Lam, màu sắc rất là đẹp và rất bền qua thời gian. Cái loại thứ hai thì người ta sử dụng để chế tác các cái loại ngự dụng ở trong cung, tức là đồ dùng trực tiếp của nhà vua và một số thành viên trong hoàng gia. Ở một số phụ đệ, một số thân vương hay quan lại cao cấp người ta cũng có sử dụng cái Pháp Lam. Và Pháp Lam trong thời Nguyễn thì đã trở thành một cái món hàng, một cái gọi là một cái thứ đồ mà cao cấp.
Based on historical records of the Nguyen dynasty, the technique for firing enameled bronze was created in 1827. Enameled bronze motifs for exterior decoration are paid the most attention. They include decorative details in the shape of dragons or clouds, attached to main the ridges and drooping ridges of royal palaces and the triple gates of the Nguyen tombs. The brilliant color of the enameled bronzeware on the gray background of mossy ancient structures gives them a certain brightness. Over 2 centuries of Hue's often severe weather, many enameled bronze decorations on the royal palaces were lost or severely damaged. 200 years on, Hue enameled bronzeware are now been revived. In recent years, a collection, research and conservation group led by Mr. Du Hue Triet have successfully restored Hue enameled bronzeware, making them become not only quintessential handicraft products but also works of art that are applied to traditional and modern constructions.
Pháp Lam nó là thì một sự kết hợp giữa hai vật liệu. Thứ nhất là men thì nó thuộc hệ silicat như là men gốm và nó kết hợp trên kim loại. Bản chất của hai vật liệu này nó khác nhau. do đó để mà cho nó hình thành được sự liên kết, sự kết nối mà bám dính bền vững chắc chắn giữa hai loại vật liệu thì cần một cái loại men nó phải là đặc trưng, nó phù hợp về cái độ có giãn, về cái tính uốn dẻo, để cho một cái vật liệu silicat và một vật liệu kim loại nó gắn kết được với nhau.
The firing technique required skills from the craftsman in many stages. Firstly, making a bronze core body, then applying a layer of undercoat onto the core body, and directly painting decorative designs onto the undercoat using a multicolored enamel or 5-colored enamel before firing. During the enameled bronze manufacturing process, the enamel applied to the surface will be infused with the right proportion of oxidized metal pigment, ensuring the production of high-quality enamel. Presently, enameled bronze meticulously restored in the ancient style finds application in the refurbishment and adornment of historical monuments, mausoleums, and temples within the ancient capital.
Hiện nay cái đồ Pháp Lam mà chúng ta chế tác ra khôi phục được khi mà trang trí trên các công trình kiến trúc thì so sánh với cái Pháp Lam của thời Nguyễn thì không có độ chênh nhiều về mặt kỹ thuật cũng như về mặt mỹ thuật. Thì có thể đây là một cái thành công mà được đánh giá tương đối cao.
Pháp Lam này là Pháp Lam ngoại thất, trang trí trên những cái ô học trên bờ nóc bờ quyết của cái công trình triều Nguyễn. Thường thì nó bố cục theo kiểu nhất thi nhất hòa, tức là một tấm Pháp Lam rồi đến một bài thơ hoặc là một cái chữ Hán. Thì đây là một cái trang trí đặc trưng, rất là đặc trưng của công trình kiến trúc Huế. Và những cái tấm Pháp Lam này thì đều phải tuân thủ theo những cái nguyên tắc về màu sắc. Chúng tôi là cố gắng nghiên cứu những cái màu sắc để làm sao để cho giống với cái màu sắc của nguyên bản. Thì hiện tại thì chúng ta có thể là đạt đến 90% của cái màu sắc mà nguyên gốc. Nó chỉ gói gọn trong khoảng 10 màu trở lại. Chủ đề của những cái Pháp Lam này đều là chủ đề về hoa, về chim, rồi trái, rồi những cái biểu tượng mà của tôn giáo như là của bên Lão giáo hoặc là của Phật giáo.
Today, craftsmen blend traditional and contemporary elements, crafting a variety of items. These include painting enamel on glass, ceramics, and lacquerware, incorporating enameled bronze motifs for interior decor, and crafting unique souvenirs and jewelry from enameled bronze. These creations garner significant admiration from both local and international tourists.
Many young artists are incorporating cultural and traditional materials into modern music compositions. Notably, Ngô Hồng Quang, a contemporary folk music artist, is one of the few Vietnamese artists who can play several traditional musical instruments such as the two-string fiddle, đàn nhị, string gong, đàn chiêng dây, and mouth harp, đàn môi. With his rich folk vocals and strong passion for traditional music, he has released the album Dạng Đông and is preparing to hold a live show called Return to Northern Town, or Về Kinh Bắc in Vietnamese, with the Thiên Thanh Band. So in this week's edition of On the Mic, let's meet Ngô Hồng Quang to learn more about how he breathes new life into the traditional music of ethnic groups and brings Vietnamese melodies closer to music lovers worldwide.
Vì đâu núi cao mãi thinh lặng với trông ngàn xa.
With over 20 years in the music industry, Ngô Hồng Quang has achieved remarkable success in his traditional music career. He was nominated in the categories Album of the Year and Program of the Year for the Dedication Music Award in Vietnam. It was among the top nominees in the Musician of the Year category for the 2018 Jazz Echo Award in Germany. After traveling across Vietnam for more than 4 years, he released his first album dedicated to ethnic groups' music, titled Dawned. The album takes listeners on a journey from the east to the northwest, extending to the south central coast of Vietnam. By blending indigenous music with foreign instruments, Dawn touches the hearts of listeners with its rustic, intimate melodies presented in a new and creative manner.
So thank you, Hồng Quang, for coming. It's such a pleasure to have you on the mic today. So to talk about your musical journey, I believe it can be expressed to two words, which is hard work and dedication. So can you introduce us about the album Dawn?
This album, Dawn, I call Dawn in English, is a collection of ethnical music that I collected since last 3 years. Here you can see the imagination of the sun. And you can see this is the skirt of the Hmong people. And it's also my name, the Q. So the sun is inside. This is the Rang Dong. I traveled southeast and southwest of Vietnam. I met a lot of musicians who live on the mountains. After that, I mixed, I composed, and I arranged. So I created new materials based on that ethnical melodies.
So Quang, I know that you are one of the few Vietnamese artists that can actually play traditional music instruments. So can you perform a bit for us?
This one is, we say đàn môi in Vietnamese and mouth harp in English. Normally I play just like this. It's like just normal playing. It doesn't mean anything. So the story behind that is that Hmong people, they use the instrument to communicate to each other between man and woman. I will play a little bit this instrument, how I put the new materials on this instrument. So that's the way that I have been doing, you know. There are many things you can learn and you can create it based on the traditional materials in Vietnam. So I really love it, and that's why I never stop composing, stop creating, performing, you know, and making different projects with other artists.
Born and raised in a family with a musical tradition, Ngô Hồng Quang developed a deep passion for music. After studying abroad for 4 years at the Conservatorium van Amsterdam and the Royal Conservatory of The Hague in the Netherlands, he traveled around the world, introducing Vietnamese musical culture to international audiences. Recently, he founded the band Thiên Thanh, which consists of 9 young members. Their goal is to embrace the value of traditional Vietnamese music by combining it with contemporary music.
Đàn nguyệt trầm này thì mới được chế tạo để bổ sung cho dàn nhạc dân tộc, bởi vì dàn nhạc dân tộc, âm nhạc dân tộc hiện tại thì đang rất là thiếu bè trầm. Và mình thực sự rất là muốn tiếp tục hợp tác với anh, bởi vì anh đã chia sẻ những cái kinh nghiệm học hỏi từ khắp nơi trên thế giới cho nhóm nhạc và cũng như là mình.
Muốn là lan tỏa cái tình yêu âm nhạc truyền thống tới đông đảo mọi người, đặc biệt là các bạn trẻ, bởi vì họ là sức mạnh để có thể gìn giữ cũng như bảo vệ và tiếp nối cái thể loại âm nhạc truyền thống. Chính vì thế cái cách làm của anh Quang, mình nghĩ là cái con đường dài để có thể hướng các bạn trẻ quay trở lại hay là tiếp thêm cái tình yêu của các bạn ấy dành cho âm nhạc truyền thống.
So upcoming May, you're hosting a show called Return to Northern Town. What can our audiences expect from the show?
We have all the instruments of our culture, you know. I mix together and I harmonize it in a modern way. And I compose and I arrange all the music for the beautiful song that everyone knows. For example, Bèo Giạt Mây Trôi or Cây Trúc Sinh. The aim of the show is to connect, to share the traditional materials to the world. So we need to have, you know, really some modern artists like Trung Bảo is a really good beatboxer, and the cellist Brian. I think the audience will like it when they listen to this kind of new composition. Comparing to the traditional way, you only hear one way, one type of emotions, you know. The young generation can hear and can communicate and can perceive the beautiful sound of the tradition.
I think what's even more exciting about the show is the presence of a young band called Thiên Thanh Band, which includes many Gen Z artists. So how do they all come together, and what's your purpose when having this such young talented artists?
When I just first shared my idea of organizing a band for youngsters, a group of young musicians, they gather and they like to meet me because they are people who really keen to learn the new things, you know. I expect the group can go and play more and more in Vietnam and also can play abroad.
I believe that there are many young Vietnamese are trying to promote traditional music as well. So for someone who's just starting to learn about traditional music like them, what's your advice?
So yeah, firstly, focus on the tradition, the value of tradition, clearly, properly, understand them and appreciate them well. And then secondly, be more open, be more creative on your profession that you chose. It's very important. And go play with other musicians, go, you know, sharing the tradition with other musicians from other countries, you know, doing different projects as much as you can. I'm sure everyone will be a good musician after that.
Well, I'm sure that you're quite busy with your upcoming plans, but have you ever thought about your next step?
So after releasing this album, I will think about like recording another album, not for me, but for the Thiên Thanh Band, maybe next month or the end of this month after the show, to record all the things that we rehearsed together in the last 4 months, so people can join the show, and after that they can hear the music. I think I will be back to Europe for some months for another project, for some performance, and I will compose more music for Thiên Thanh Band, because right now they have 12 pieces in the show, but this is only relating to Về Kinh Bắc project. So I look forward to bring the group to play the music more in the country firstly, and then secondly moving to abroad.
Well, thank you, Hồng Quang, for taking the time to join our interview. I hope that your upcoming show will be a huge success and you will keep inspiring young Vietnamese to learn about traditional music.
Thank you so much for your conversation.
When Carrie Newsome first visited Vietnam in 2007, she was captivated by the country's enchanting landscapes and vibrant culture. Her deepening affection for the S-shaped land inspired her to create the podcast channel What About Vietnam. Through Carrie's captivating narratives, listeners not only gain a profound understanding of Vietnamese culture and its people, but also valuable insights into traveling across diverse regions, including bustling cities, picturesque highlands, scenic coastal areas, and awe-inspiring caves. In this week's Connecting Cultures segment, we invite you to embark on a journey through Vietnam as seen through the lens of Carrie Newsome and her captivating podcast.
Xin chào and welcome to What About Vietnam. You know, people say, oh, well, you can't go to Vietnam because, you know, you're gluten intolerant. And I go, woo, that's not quite right, because, you know, there's the beautiful broths. You don't need to actually add the noodles, and you can still get those beautiful flavors with the herbs and the chicken or the beef, whatever you choose.
So these are the little things that people don't get yet about Vietnam. So there's still a big job for me to do to break down all of those silly ideas that people have about Vietnam.
Since its launch in May 2020 during the COVID period, Carrie Newsome's podcast, What About Vietnam, has amassed a growing audience of more than 120,000 listeners from around the world. Over nearly 4 years, Carrie's podcast has shared hundreds of stories and hosted numerous guests. These guests range from experts in the fields of restaurants and fashion to bloggers, expats living in Vietnam, and tourists who have visited Vietnam. Her listeners can expect to hear about unique and memorable travel and tourism experiences that they may not find in guidebooks.
I think the main objective for me with the podcast is to give Vietnam a more reality version to it so that people can experience it for what it is today and appreciate its history and appreciate its culture, but appreciate also that it's an evolving culture.
Carrie first visited Vietnam in 2007 and was deeply moved by the experiences the country offered. She began returning to Vietnam 2 or 3 times each year, making it a ritual. Each visit opened a new chapter in her exploration of this enchanting land. Carrie traversed the length and breadth of Vietnam, seeking to unravel its mysteries. And Hanoi always holds a special place in Carrie's heart.
Why, among all the interesting things a visitor can see in Hanoi, you want to see this particular building?
You can walk along the street and you can see motorbikes, and you can go down the street and you see modern cafes. But if you look a little bit closely and you look up, you can see hundreds and hundreds of years of history. Culturally, the heritage is still very much alive here, and I'm really glad that the Vietnamese government is all about maintaining heritage buildings and making sure that they still keep the old with the new.
On every trip to Vietnam, Carrie received a lot of support. Many of the podcast's guests and listeners have become her friends and have helped her in her journey to explore Vietnam.
Hannah was one of the earliest people that contacted me to say, good on you for doing this. This is a great thing to keep Vietnam in the eyes of foreigners overseas looking to come. So she was very, very supportive, and she does for free. Like, she just does that because she has a generous spirit.
Cái tôi thích nhất ở chị Carrie là chị càng ngày càng yêu Việt Nam hơn theo những cái cách nó mới hơn, và đấy là một điều mà tôi nghĩ là các độc giả khác khi nghe về trong podcast của chị cũng cảm nhận được. Vì chị Carrie yêu mến Việt Nam theo một cách rất là hồn nhiên, theo một cách là chị cảm nhận được là con người Việt Nam cũng yêu chị. Thành ra là khi đến về Việt Nam, chị cũng cảm thấy hơi giống như là về nhà.
About places that I've been to, I think, how did I miss that? I need to go back and have another look, because there's always something that I didn't know about. And that's what's special about the podcast, that you're always learning something.
When we had the bún chả in the alley. Now, see, in my culture, you are not encouraged to go down alleys. Alleys are dangerous, like, don't go down an alley. Where here, I love going down alleys because that's where the interesting thing is. That's where you get to see locals, and I like going to places where there's lots of locals because that tells me the food is good. And I think that is just a nuance and part of Vietnam that makes it unique. When I'm in Vietnam, I always feel beautiful. Now, I want to back that up by saying, feel beautiful. I feel ageless. I feel surrounded by beauty. That beauty impacts me. Beautiful people makes me feel beautiful. And beautiful caring gestures and generosity makes you feel in a beautiful space.
And that is the end of our programs. If you'd like to catch us online, download the VTV Go app from your Google Play or App Store, or tune in our YouTube channel for more of our program. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode of Culture Mosaic. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.